Hello, and welcome back to another Tracker video, where today I will be showing off these fully stock grid fins I made, and putting them on a rocket and seeing how well they work. So here you can see I'm doing a test to see how fast they can actuate, and my plan is to use them on my upcoming Starship project, which is going to be fully automatic. So I'm just going to build a quick rocket where I can test the grid fins, and I use vector engines, but I end up turning off their gimbal once I realise. So I used symmetry mode on the grid fins, and here you can see I'm doing the nose, and then I save and then I launch, and here you can see it on the runway, and the grid fins are broken. They're just spinning around freely with no control whatsoever. You can see that the grid fins, this grid fin on this side is working though. And you can see how they work is they use a control surface, which means SAS can use them, and they have some things clamping the control surface, so the control surface acts as an actuator to actuate them. So here you can see me doing some things, moving things around and just redoing things and seeing if the same problem happens. So here we are back on the runway again, and the control surfaces, the grid fins are broken again. They're just spinning around freely. Only that one on this side is working. So I have to go back again, and I'm going to fit each one separately rather than using symmetry mode, and I'll apply the action groups for each one to apply same vessel interaction. And let's see, and this time they worked. You can see I'm doing a quick ground test where I move them back and forth with roll, and here you can see I'm turning off the gimbal on the vector engines because I realised that they were left on. So I'm doing a quick test on the ground of the control surfaces, the grid fins I keep calling them control surfaces. And let's fly this rocket and see if I can steer it with the grid fins. So there's not much control at the minute, but I'm going quite slow. You can see they're steering the rocket a little bit. Let's wait till we get a bit faster though. You can already see they're starting to take a bit more bite into the atmosphere. You can see I'm gaining quite a bit more control now with these grid fins. Here I am testing roll. They seem to work quite well here. There I am looking at the aero forces. You can see that the control surfaces I use as actuators do provide most of the force, but the grid fins do work slightly. So they are mostly a visual thing, but they do work. You can see I'm going quite high, but you may notice as I sort of break the sound barrier in a bit, you may notice that the grid fins are actually bending under the aero load, and that is something I want to address. I'm gonna have to maybe add a stock hinge on the back of them to keep them straight, so that they don't bend like that. You'll be able to see the bending more when it gets back down again, but you can kind of see them wobbling a bit. SAS does seem to have a bit of trouble controlling it with them. SAS doesn't seem to be used to these control surfaces, so it does oscillate a little bit. You can see I'm testing roll again. And now I'm just gonna let the rocket drop down into the ocean and see how the grid fins fare with falling down, as I do intend these to be used on a Starship Super Heavy, and they need to be a bit stronger than what they are here to work on a Starship Super Heavy. You can see SAS is moving them around a lot. The advantage of putting them on a control surface, though, means that I don't have to use extra cowl controllers to control them. Their controls come by default, and SAS is able to use them. Here you can really see the aero forces are bending the grid fins around. This is something I will definitely have to address when I put these on Super Heavy. And despite SAS being disengaged and there being no electric charge, the grid fins are still moving around somehow, even without my control inputs. SAS is still doing things despite it being off. You can see they're really bending now. Anyway, now I've shown you these grid fins, that will be the end of the video. Remember to dislike and unsubscribe, and maybe you won't watch the next video. Also, if my voice sounded a bit funny today, I have a cold coming on, so yeah.